Okay, get ready, because tonight we're heading deep into Hollow Woods to figure out, like, what's the deal with these midnight owls, you know?
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah. So picture this.
Okay.
It's like a village right on the edge of this creepy forest.
Mhm.
Halloween's coming up, and there's these, like, eerie owl calls all night.
Oh, I bet that's creepy.
Totally. And we've got all this stuff, local legends, stories people have been telling forever, and even some people saying, hey, I saw this crazy stuff myself, and it all sounds kind of freaky.
And so it sounds like you're saying it's more than just like your average spooky owls hanging out in the woods.
Right. Like, are they just good at making things creepy?
Right.
Or is there something, like, seriously strange about them?
Right.
That's what we're going to find out. And, like,
Okay.
these aren't your regular owls, right?
No, not at all. People who have seen them, they say they've got these like jet black feathers.
Oh, wow.
So you can't even see them in the shadows practically.
Oh, that's creepy.
And these crazy amber eyes that just glow
Mhm.
like lanterns in the dark.
Imagine running into that in the woods. I mean, would you just be like, oh, it's just an owl? Or would you be freaked out knowing all those stories, you know?
Right.
Like, part of you would have to believe.
I think it's interesting because, like, these owls that we're talking about, they almost sound like these creatures you find in myths and legends all over the world, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you'll see owls connected to darkness, often seen as psychopomps, which are basically guides for souls in the afterlife.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah. So, is this just a coincidence? Or are we, like, hardwired to think of owls as, like, messengers between worlds or something?
That's a good question. It's like they, like, tap into this primal part of us. Like, something in us just connects owls to all this mysterious stuff about life and death, and with, like, how creepy they look. Of course there's going to be spooky stories, right? I mean, there's gotta be.
Oh, yeah. Tons of them.
What kind of stuff do people say?
So, like, some legends say they're, like, guarding the dead, watching over spirits, you know, especially around Halloween. Yeah. Then there are others who think they're messengers, like from another dimension.
Okay, now that's scary.
Yeah.
But were people actually scared of these owls? Or were they just, like, stories to tell around a campfire to keep kids from wandering off?
You know, it seems like it was both, I'd say. Like, yeah, the legends definitely spooked people, but there was also this, like, respect for them. Like they were powerful or something people couldn't really understand, you know?
So we've got these creepy owls, and then there's this woman, Alara, who wasn't satisfied with just stories, right?
Right.
She wanted, like, answers.
Yeah, and what's cool about Ilara is that she, like, wasn't afraid of the owls. Like most people. She saw their calls as, like, they needed help, you know?
Oh, wow.
Not a threat. And that's what made her want to find out the truth.
So, like, the night before Halloween, she goes into the woods,
Yeah.
the Hollow Woods. Talk about brave, right?
Oh, yeah.
To go into the owls' territory.
Super brave. And, like, the deeper she went, right, the more it felt like the forest was, like, closing in on her.
Uh-oh.
All foggy, all shadowy, like it was going to swallow her up.
Ooh, getting intense.
Right.
So, like, what happens when she finally finds these owls?
Okay, so she comes across this clearing, and in the middle, there's this ancient tree.
Okay.
Like super old, all gnarled and twisted, and perched in its branches are dozens of these midnight owls,
Yeah.
all staring right at
I
her.
would run away. No way. But not Alara.
No.
She's like, I'm here. Tell me what's up. Why are you crying every night? What happened next?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The oldest owl, this one with like super wise eyes, decides to tell her their story.
So, like, we left off with Alara standing there with all these owls staring at her, and the oldest one's about to spill the tea.
Yeah.
What did it say? What's their story?
Okay, so get this. The owl told her they used to be guardians of the spirit world.
Whoa.
Like their job was to, you know, guide souls to the afterlife.
That's heavy.
But then,
Oh no, there's a but.
yeah, they got cursed.
By who?
This enchantress, right? Like, she was super powerful, and she told the villagers, hey, you gotta respect the dead. Honor their memory.
Uh-oh. That sounds like a horror movie. Don't mess with the enchantress. What happened? Did the villagers not listen or something?
But pretty much. They got all wrapped up in their own lives, you know, forgot all about the people who came before them.
So that's why the enchantress cursed the owls.
Exactly. She was mad that they were disrespecting the dead. So she, like, bound them to the forest.
So their cries every night, that's because of the curse.
Yeah, like, it's a constant reminder of what the villagers did wrong. Like, they're mourning the souls they can't guide anymore, and,
Yeah.
like, warning people not to make the same mistakes, you know?
Yeah, that's, like, way deeper than I thought. They weren't trying to scare anyone. They were trying to, like, warn everyone, remind them to remember the dead. That, like, changes everything.
I know, right? And Alara, hearing all this, she realizes, like, how much they're suffering.
Okay, so Alar's got to fix this, right?
Right.
She's got to help the owls break the curse, whatever she can do.
Totally. She, like, becomes their spokesperson, you know? Trying to get the villagers to understand.
But that couldn't have been easy.
No way.
Like convincing a whole village to change their minds about something that creeps them out, especially these owls.
It's like, you know how some people are afraid of spiders?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but on a bigger scale,
Yeah.
you know? But Alara, she actually managed to do it.
Seriously. How? What did she say?
She was a great storyteller. She told everyone about meeting the owls, how sad they sounded, how she could almost feel the spirits in the woods, you know? It wasn't just a story. She made them feel it.
So instead of being scared, they, like, wanted to do something for the owls. That's crazy. What did they do?
So Alara came up with this idea. She called it the Night of Remembrance.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is that?
It's like on Halloween, instead of hiding inside, everyone goes out to honor their ancestors.
Like, how do they, like, try to talk to the owls or something?
Not directly,
Yeah.
but they do all these symbolic things. Like they light lanterns and put them on all the paths leading into the woods.
Oh, wow.
It's like a path of light, you know, guiding the lost spirits back home.
I love that.
Right. And they all gather around bonfires and tell stories about the people they've lost. It's really beautiful, actually.
Wow, that's amazing. So they went from being terrified to, like, having this special night to remember the dead.
Exactly. They chose to face their fears with understanding and kindness.
It's pretty amazing how just remembering the owls, like acknowledging their sadness and stuff, could, like, change things so much. Did the owls, did they notice the villagers doing this?
You know what? Something pretty wild happened that first night of remembrance.
What happened?
So, like, all the villagers are gathered, right? And they've lit all these lanterns, and the path into the woods is all lit up.
Yeah.
And the owls' cries, which had always been, like, super sharp and loud, they started to get softer.
No way. They, like, actually changed their calls.
It's true. And get this, some people even said they saw these, like, faint faces in the trees, smiling faces, almost like the spirits were, like, finally at peace.
Oh, wow, that gives me chills.
I know, right? So it's like the owls became this, like, bridge between the world of the living and the dead. Their cries went from being warnings to being, like, this sad but beautiful song of remembering.
You know, as we've been talking about all this, it makes me realize, like, the owls were always crying, but the villagers didn't really hear them until they changed how they thought about it, you know?
Yeah, it's like the owls were speaking a language they just couldn't understand before Laura came along. She was like their translator or something.
Totally. And that makes me think about all the things in my own life that I've been scared of or just didn't get, so I ignored them. But maybe there was something important to learn there, you know? What if we all tried to be more curious about things, even the stuff that freaks us out? What would we find?
It's deep. Like, what if the villagers had always been curious about the owls? Would they have figured it out sooner? It makes you wonder, like, how much stuff do we miss out on just because we're scared or we think we already know what's going on?
Exactly. Like, instead of saying that's bad or that's scary, what if we just stopped and listened for a second?
Yeah.
It could change everything, just like with the owls and the villagers.
And in their case, that change of perspective led to this huge shift, not just for the village, but for the owls too. Their cries, which were once full of sadness and warning, they, like, became this source of connection and healing.
It's really beautiful when you think about it. The story of the Midnight Owls, it reminds us that understanding can lead to peace, even in the spookiest places. And it shows us that the things we fear the most might actually be trying to tell us something important. We just gotta be brave enough to listen.
And since owls are often thought of as wise, I wonder, could these midnight owls be like a symbol for the wisdom we get when we face our fears and learn about the past? Maybe their cries aren't warnings, but invitations to learn and grow.
Whoa, that's really interesting. So the next time you hear an owl, especially like on a spooky October night, remember the Midnight Owls. Think about what they might be trying to tell you.
Yeah. That's it for our deep dive into the legend of the Midnight Owls.
Thanks for joining us on this trip into Hollow Woods. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and don't be afraid to listen to those whispers in the dark. You never know what amazing stuff you might find.